Hey guys, and welcome back to another brand new video on the channel. Today we are going to be going through our World Cup predictions in preparation for the tournament starting on Sunday with the opener, which is of course Qatar against Ecuador. So we're going to be using the Telegraph tournament predictor, which is pretty cool. So as you can sort of see on screen, you go through, it's got all of the groups and you kind of put where you think each team will finish, and then it automatically does the knockout stages too. We're going to talk about each sort of group and then what the potential knockouts could be as well, and just predict who I think is going to win it. We will also have our round one, so all of the first group stage game predictions out pretty soon. That will be out on Friday before the tournament starts on Sunday, which will be on the competitive website that I am a part of. So there is some money on the line for us, so hopefully we're going to do better than we are in the Premier League predictions. But guys, let's just jump straight into this and see what we think will be the outcome. Okay guys, so obviously as there are quite a lot of games to get through, including all the knockouts and everything, we'll try and go through the groups as quickly as possible. Obviously everyone is going to have different opinions on certain teams and how well they're going to do. I have sort of waited until most of the squads are out so that I kind of have an idea on how I think teams will do. There may be a few controversial ones in there. Obviously, like I say, I don't just want to predict the same as everybody else. So, you know, there are going to be upsets. But let's just jump into it. So, Group A, you've got Netherlands, Senegal, Ecuador, and Qatar. So first off, I think Netherlands will top the group. Honestly, I don't think their squad is that good, but I do think that they are the best team in this group. Surprisingly, I'm going to go for Ecuador in second. And that is a bit of a shock, but I honestly don't think, although he has been included in the squad for Senegal, I don't think Sadio Mane is going to be able to play a massive role in the groups. And Ecuador are quite a good side. South American, so obviously, you know, us in the UK don't really see a lot of these sorts of teams, but just looking at their results, they're very hard to beat. They're quite a good sort of core unit, and you know, honestly, I think they could do well. The first game of the tournament is Qatar against Ecuador, and I'll be honest, I don't see Qatar picking up many, if any, points in this tournament, and I do honestly think that Ecuador will get through the group with Senegal in third and then Qatar. I just don't see any world where Qatar get through this group. I mean, it'd be amazing. Obviously, in Russia a couple of years ago, people weren't, obviously Russia are a better side than Qatar, but people weren't really expecting them to do that well, and they did really well on home soil, and it is a big factor, but honestly, I just don't see it happening, and bit of a surprise package straight away. We've gone for Ecuador to finish second. Okay then guys, so next up, the big one for any UK fans is of course Group B with England, and it's quite a tough one because on paper you'd imagine England will top the group, and you know, I'd be very surprised if we didn't, but obviously England against Wales is probably a bigger game than any of the other games for Wales because it's obviously quite a big rivalry, and like England Scotland in the Euros, they will be well up for it. As for the rest of the group, I honestly think this one's quite hard. None of the teams are that standout, so you know, anyone in the knockouts, obviously the winner of A plays the runner-up of B, and most people have Netherlands to top this group, so the winner playing against whoever finishes second. Now, when I did the practice run of this, I did actually have Wales in second with the USA and Iran, but honestly, I think these positions could move any which way. It's a really tough one to predict. USA, I'm not sure their squad's that good. Iran are sort of dark horses, but they have got some good players, namely Mehdi Taremi of Porto could cause issue for the defence of the other three teams. But I am going to put Wales in second, just because they do seem to turn up at a lot of these tournaments. They do have quite a good record, did well at the last World Cup. I'm not sure how good USA are. They've got some decent players, obviously Christian Pulisic of Chelsea, the main one, but going to put them in third, with Iran finishing bottom of the group. So obviously when we get to the knockouts, we will go through it, but that would mean that England would play Ecuador and Netherlands would play Wales. But like I say, we'll go through that in a moment once we have finished the groups. Okay then, so on to Group C, guys. As I say, I'll try and get through these quite quickly, but I do like a good ramble. This one is quite a tough one for second place for me. I think Argentina will top it. They are probably my favourites with Brazil for the whole tournament. They could play each other in the semi-final, which would be quite a big game. But honestly, Saudi Arabia, I don't see picking up any points. They were absolutely awful at the last World Cup in 2018. I think they'll finish bottom. Mexico and Poland, I'm not sure on. There's a lot of people saying that Mexico could be sort of overachievers, but I'm not sure they're that great. But similarly with Poland, every sort of major tournament I've seen them play in, I've been quite disappointed, and they've not been great. So I think I'm actually going to go Mexico, Poland, Saudi Arabia. These two positions could quite easily change, Mexico and Poland. It could come down to the game where they play each other, which I think is their first group game of the tournament. So it could be whoever wins that gets through, because I think Argentina will beat both of them depending on if they rotate in their final group game. And Saudi Arabia, I see finishing pretty far down in the ranking. Group D, another sort of controversial one. I think Denmark are going to top this group, and everyone, well, not everyone, but a lot of people have France as potential favourites for the tournament. And I honestly don't think they will top this group. Denmark are a very, very good side, very good at the back. We saw that at the Euros last year. And with the injuries that France have got, yes, they've still got an absolutely amazing squad, especially going forward. But Denmark are very good at the back, like I say, and they've played each other. I think they were in the same Nations League group, and both of the games were quite tight. Obviously, it is a big tournament, so France may come out on top. But I've gone for France in second in the group, which would obviously mean that we have an Argentina-France round of 16 game, which would be pretty big for the first knockout round. Tunisia and Australia, tough one. I think, again, France and Denmark will both beat them. I'm not sure. I think probably Australia and then Tunisia. I'm not massively sort of clued up with how Tunisia are as a national team, so I've gone for them in fourth. Obviously, most people will probably predict it this way round, but I don't want to be generic. I genuinely think that it's a World Cup. There will be some upsets on the cards. So that is the first four groups done. So let's jump into the final four. Okay, guys, I'm going to try and speed this up because I feel like I am taking forever to get through this, and obviously we've got all the knockout games to get through as well. Group E, I think most people will predict Germany and Spain to get through. I honestly think Germany will top the group with Spain in second. I like Spain, but they're just not as good as they used to be. They really lack a kind of goal scorer. Morata generally plays there for them, but not sure he's good enough to win the World Cup with him up front. So Germany, I think, will top it. Then Spain, Japan, and Costa Rica. I quite like Japan. I like the Asian sides at the World Cup. Obviously, we saw, was it South Korea knock out Germany at the last World Cup with Heung-min Son, I think, scored and knocked them out. And I like watching those sorts of sides. You think back to like Nakata of Japan back in the day. Obviously, he's always one of the icons on FIFA, but I like watching them. I think they will finish third in the group. Group F is another sort of interesting one because I think all of the teams are quite competitive. And again, maybe a bit controversially, I think Croatia may top the group. I like Belgium. I'm not sure they're as strong as everyone thinks they are. So I think Croatia, just one of those sides that are good in these big tournaments. Belgium, generally get through to the latter stages, but I think they might finish in second. And then Canada, Morocco, again, both have, some decent players in their squad. I think Canada will be third with Morocco fourth. I think Morocco will struggle. But it's another group that will likely be competitive and a good one to watch. Next up, we have the last two groups, and I think again these ones are kind of self-explanatory. Brazil, another one for me that are probably up there as potential winners. Them and Argentina for me, I think one of those will go on to win it. I then think Switzerland are the second best team in this group, generally get through to the knockouts in a lot of major tournaments and don't get a lot further than that. Serbia in third and Cameroon in fourth. Again, it could be the game like Switzerland-Serbia could be a big one. Switzerland-Cameroon. I think Brazil will beat most of them. It's these three teams, when they play each other, could determine this group and who finishes second. And then finally, Group H. I've gone for Portugal in first. They've got a great squad. Not sure on their manager and sort of the way he's got them playing, but I do think they'll top the group. We've then obviously got Uruguay, Ghana and South Korea. That is the order that I believe they will finish. Obviously, Uruguay-Ghana is a repeat of, was it the quarterfinals or the semi-finals? The infamous Luis Suarez handball. So that'll be an interesting one with Suarez back in the Uruguay squad. South Korea, not got a lot other than Sun, although obviously, like I say, they did cause a bit of an upset at the last tournament. But guys, that is my group stage completed. Let me know if you think there are any sort of major upsets. I have gone for a few. Obviously, the knockouts, everyone's going to have different knockout games from where they put or predict the teams to finish in the group. So we'll jump into ours. But yeah, let me know what you think of the groups. Obviously, as we've gone through them, I have gone for a few maybe controversial ones. But yeah, let's jump into the knockout games. We'll try and get through these a little bit quicker because I don't want this video to be too long. Okay then guys, so we're going to kind of reveal them one by one. And like I say, try and get through them a little bit quicker. So the first one, I think most people, if this was the game, would have the Netherlands to win it. Like I said earlier, not the greatest team. I don't think they're going to get particularly far in the tournament, but their group's relatively kind, and if they get Wales in the round of 16, they will be pretty happy. Next one, obviously, most people probably won't have predicted this. Most people will predict Argentina to play Denmark. But as I've said, I think Argentina are potential winners of the tournament. So I would go for them over France. I think France will struggle, especially in midfield. They're not the strongest. Still got a very good backline, loads of depth, and their front line is brilliant. Griezmann, Giroud, Benzema, and Mbappe is quality. They've got a lot of options, but I really fancy Argentina this year. So Netherlands and Argentina to go through to the quarterfinals from the first two. We've then got England and, Ecuador, as I said earlier, would be a tough game, but I'd like to fancy England's chances. And the same with Denmark, two European sides. I think both of them, if this is the way that the tournament tree sort of lines up, I think both of them would be pretty happy with those draws and would get through to the quarterfinals. So not really too much to say there. I think both of them are just stronger sides, and over the course of 90 minutes or 120 in pens if it gets there, I think they are the better sides. Next up, we've got again a couple of quite big round of 16 draws. As I said earlier, not really sold on Belgium, and I honestly think Germany would beat them. And then an all South American tie between Brazil and Uruguay. And again, I'd go for, if it lets me click it, I'd go for Brazil. I do honestly think that they are the front runners for the tournament, them and Argentina. Obviously, it's a World Cup. It's difficult to predict. No one knows what's going to happen unless you can travel in time. If so, stick a bet on whoever the winners are. But anyway, into the last of the last 16. Again, some kind of difficult games, obviously. Looking at them, Spain and Portugal probably are the ones that you would go for to win, but Croatia and Switzerland can hold their own. They've played in big tournament knockout games, but for me, it would be Spain and Portugal. I'm not sure they're the strongest, but I do think that they would get through. Obviously, I'm sure there will be some teams that make it to the quarters and possibly even the semis that people don't expect, so it's always tough to know. But these are my quarter finalists for the World Cup, kind of the teams that you would expect to be in there, maybe other than Belgium. But let's get into the quarter-final sort of draw that we've established from the group stage, and let's see who I think will make it to the semis. Okay then, so first two matches in the quarterfinals, and for me, the South Americans reign supreme. I think Argentina are a better side than the Netherlands, just on paper. Having Messi, arguably the greatest player in the world, for me this season, the Ronaldo-Messi debate, obviously over their careers, is a tough one, but this season Messi's been clear. He is the GOAT in my opinion. You can argue about it all day, but yeah, for me, South America reigns supreme in both of these games. Couple of good quarterfinals if we get them, but Argentina and Brazil make it through for me, and I do think that one of them will win the tournament, as I've said. The other two quarterfinals, England-Denmark, repeat of the semi-final from the Euros last year. I've got to back Southgate and the boys. There's a lot of pessimism going into the World Cup, but I think we just have to get behind them. There's people talking about the England squad and maybe the way Gareth Southgate plays, and if we get knocked out early and we don't perform well, then yes, you can start to ask questions. But our first game is pretty much a week away as I'm recording this, and the squad's just been announced. We've just got to get behind them. We have to support them, whether you think the squad was right or not, whether you think he's the right man. Got to support the boys, and if this is the way the tournament sort of goes ahead, it would be tough for England. There's a couple of pretty tough games. Ecuador aren't an easy side, Denmark aren't an easy side, but you would miss all of the big boys and potentially get into a semi-final. So it wouldn't be easy. We just about scraped past Denmark in the Euros, but got to support the boys. You've got to have faith in the English lads. Next up, Spain-Portugal, tough one again. Two pretty similar sides, I would say. I do like Spain. They do have a way of playing in knockout football that tends to get them relatively far. I'm not sure they have enough to win it, as I've said. But against Portugal, I don't think the way that Portugal play is the best. I think they have to play without Ronaldo, if I'm honest. He's a clutch player. If you're losing a game, you bring him on, when you're throwing the kitchen sink. But if you're playing against Spain especially, they're going to have a lot of the ball. You need to play on the counter. You need players like Rafa Leao. Trying to think off the top of my head who else they got. They got loads of attacking talent. I'm not sure Ronaldo fits into that at the moment. Obviously, he's going to be in your squad. He's going to have a part to play. But these are our semi-finalists, 2 Europeans and 2 South Americans. So let's see what the semi-final draw looks like. Of course, as I said earlier, I do think Argentina and Brazil, one of them will win the tournament. But if they both win their group, which is looking likely, it's very likely they will face each other in a semi-final. And I'll be honest, if England aren't going to win it, I will probably be supporting Argentina. But for me, I think Brazil would beat them. I honestly do. That Brazil team is just so solid. And on the other semi-final, England again. I am very pessimistic going into this. Like, we've done well at the last 2 tournaments. Do I think we can win the World Cup? Probably not. But I have belief that we could do it, or at least get far in the competition. Then comes down to the final game of the tournament, and for me, it would be Brazil. I think between them and Argentina, it's very close, but the Brazil team is just so good. They got so many options. Maybe the one thing they're lacking is an out-and-out natural striker. Obviously, Argentina have Messi, but they also have the likes of Lautaro Martinez, Dybala. Maybe not a lone striker, but they've got players who can do it. Brazil have a lot of good wingers and wide players. Maybe not a natural 9. But there are my winners for the tournament predictions. Let me know what you thought down below, and if you have any sort of differing opinions. As I said at the start, everyone will have different sort of beliefs on how each team will perform. But there it is, guys. That is our tournament predictions. Share your winners. So these are the most predicted to win I think a lot of people have Argentina and Brazil as favourites, a lot of optimistic England fans, but for me, I do think it will be whoever wins that Brazil-Argentina semi if they do face each other. But anyway, guys, I will stop rambling on now. I hope you have enjoyed. As I say, I'm super excited for the World Cup to start. We'll have our round 1 predictions out on Friday. Let me know what you thought down below. Hit the like, hit the subscribe button, and we will be back soon. Peace.